to choose a successor. I have read no book on this subject because I don't know, maybe they don't deal with it. But I had a problem trying to find the answer to this question: how to choose a successor. So I decided for the last 14 years to do my own research, to try to decipher from the life of Jesus Christ, who is the greatest leader of all time, how to go about choosing a successor. I also wanted to know, how do you process that? So I began to also study the successful transitions in history, beginning, of course, with biblical case studies. And what I discovered changed and shocked me. And it's going to shock you also. Now, I can't tell you everything I learned about this because it's so much, but I want to get right to the meat of this. I think you are convinced by now, hopefully, that you must prepare to die. You must prepare to also move off the scene eventually, to make room for the next phase of leadership or the next generation. The problem is, how do you go about doing that? How do you really identify your successor and the person you need to mentor, or the persons you want to mentor, out of among whom will emerge your successor? And I want to share with you what I discovered. I have also applied this to my own experience in leadership, and it works. So let's talk about how to choose a successor, focusing on discovering the criteria for choosing a person who could succeed you. This is going to be a shock, so I'm warning you. Now, when you think of leadership, one of the things that we've been talking about as a principle is success in leadership has very little to do with projects, very little to do with achievements of goals, because every goal you achieve could be destroyed by someone who comes after you. So success in leadership is the preservation of success. How to preserve the things that you built, you laid your life down to achieve. How to make sure that they're not destroyed by succeeding generations. And we've seen this happen very often, where when it's time for leaders to transition, many of them don't prepare the successor, and so there is a conflict, a fight, a scuffle for leadership. And when a new leader emerges from that fight, sometimes their commitment is to destroy everything you built, to prove that they are different or better. This has been the MO of most leaders. If you study the third world, for example, in all third world countries, this leadership issue is primary problem. Most developing countries, when they have a leadership transition, there's either a coup, or someone gets killed, or there is tremendous turmoil in that country. The same thing happens in churches. Sometimes they say the worst thing for a church is a board. Because when it's time for leadership transition, there is so much fighting. Now, they don't use guns yet, and bullets and machetes, but they're getting close lately. They will fight for the pastorate. They would fight to be the next bishop. They would kill. They would connive. They would all kind of strategizing to try and emerge as the leader. This is ungodly, unhealthy, and almost unbelievable. So this session is very critical. How do you choose a successor? Let me bring it down to one more context, and that is the family. When you talk about a family, you are a mother, a father with children, and you started a family business, and you're developing that family business, and let's say you got 5 or 6 kids. Listen to me carefully, please. First of all, don't assume that the person who should succeed you in whatever you do has to be one of your family members. You prefer it to be, but doesn't have to be, and that's proven in the context of Scripture. But let's say perhaps you want to make sure that your business stays in the family, whether it's a company you just establish or some project that you build and you want your family, your kids to inherit it. It doesn't mean that those children will protect that product. As a matter of fact, there are millions of stories where families built big businesses and one of the siblings who didn't have the passion of their father or the passion of their mother for this business would literally sell that business for almost nothing. Sell it off and go buy a boat and go play golf or something. They destroy the family business because they have no interest in what their parents built. So even as a family, you can have a destruction of your dream. Question then is, how do you know which one of the children is the right one to take the business? We're going to talk about that in this session. You may have a board or assistants around you in your company, in your church, in your business, and you want to know which one of these should I really focus on to mentor, to become the one who takes all that I have possessed, all that I have developed. How do I know which one should I give it to? Very important question. Hopefully today, the answer that I'm going to share with you will help you. But I warn you, this will be a shock. Because I think in your mind, you already have an idea of who and what kind of person you already have spied or identified that probably is a potential successor. I believe that when I'm finished, they may not be the one. Because I'm going to dismantle all of your reasons probably for why you chose them. Because I too thought I knew who should be a perfect prospect for succession. And yet we need a successor. So, here's some thoughts. I want to begin with the 6 principles for not choosing someone. I want to begin the negative first. Are you all sure you're ready for this? Okay. If you want to identify your successor, first of all, you never choose a person who loves your vision. Oh dear. I guess I can now close the session and we can leave. Okay, there's a shock. See, we normally think that the person who captures our vision and loves our vision is the kind of person we should give the organization to. Well, I am proposing that that is not the right person. Don't let the fact that someone loves your vision be the criteria for choosing them as your successor. Number 2, never choose the person who loves and wants your gift. You know, there are people around you who just love your gift, love your anointing, they love your skill, they love the way you do what you do, and they just love it. And they talk about it, they tell you how great you are, and that is not the kind of person you want to choose for your successor. If somebody is all taken up with how great you are and how you can speak well, how you can, play well, how you can sing well, and they just love your gifts, how you can communicate well. Be cautious. Number 3, never choose the person who wants what you have. There are a lot of people around you in your life, and they want to be just like you, they say. Be careful. That is a dangerous person. Now, I know you're still in shock, but this is not the proper prospect for you. Never choose a person who wants what you have. They want your position, they want your title, they want your influence, they want your power. Be cautious. Number 4, when choosing a successor, never choose the person who wants your power. There are people around you who literally worship your power. They are so impressed by your capacity to impress. They love the way you impact and influence people. They just admire that. They want it. And that's why they'll associate with you. They'll tell you everything you need to hear and even want to hear, just to be in the atmosphere of your power. Some people just love the experience of being around power, and they want it. A dangerous person. When you want to choose a successor, never choose a person who wants positions of authority. Watch those people in your life who are constantly desiring to have the same authority you have. They want you to promote them so they can have authority. They would even try and convince you that they are good for you. They really want authority. Be cautious. How am I doing so far? I think I'm canceling your whole life right now. See, I told you. You thought you knew who's a good prospect for succession. And number 6, never choose a person who believes they are wiser than you. There are people around you who say they are there to help you and to serve you, and they always criticizing you, always questioning you, always wondering why you're doing this and why you're doing it that way, and you think that there's a better way to do it. And be careful of those people who think they are wiser than you. Be cautious. They always know a better way to do it. And they will question your methods, and they believe that they have some new ideas that can help you, and they're always trying to make you think that you're not quite all of that. Watch those people. They volunteer wisdom. Be cautious. Now, each one of these I got from Jesus. He had 12 men around him, and he didn't trust too many of them. I know you don't believe that. And out of the 12, he actually identified 3 that he wanted to work with personally. And out of the 3, he identified 1 that he trusted. He had, see, there are circles of people around you, and they're different circles. You can have a team with you, but they are not all in the same circle. He had 12. What about Bartholomew? You don't know much about Bartholomew. Or Thaddeus. I mean, he kind of kept them on the fringes. He was even nervous about James and John. Even though he pulled them into his inner circle, he was nervous about them because they had some defects. They are in this list. That's why he couldn't choose them. For example, James and John wanted power. Number 4. They also thought they was wiser than Jesus. They told Christ, look, there's some people down the street who are not operating like we're operating. Let me give you some advice, Jesus. Call down fire and burn them up. These guys were crazy. They were terrorists. Think about it. And right away, he changed their name. He says, you guys are sons of thunder. You guys are dangerous. You got your temperament cannot handle power. They wanted power. They were the same two, remember, who sent their mother to ask him for positions of power. Christ says, I can't trust these guys. Who around you are always trying to get in your power circle? Study people. Now, who do you think lie on Jesus' chest all the time? It was John, and Christ says, I can't trust you with power. Not because folks are close to you means that they are qualified for succession. This must be also applied to your children. You may have 5 kids. You better check and see this list against them, because even though you may have one of your son or daughter, they may not be qualified. Remember Moses, his sister had a problem. Miriam, come on, y'all remember Miriam? Miriam could not be the successor. Why? Wrong spirit. She wanted power. She even had number 6 problem. She told Moses, you think God only speaks to you? Disqualified. People around you say, well, who do you think you are? Wrong person to choose. Am I coming through slowly? See, the folks are close to you, and they say they love you and all this stuff, but you got to have a criteria to identify who is a prospect for me to invest my time in to mentor. Give them tests. There were instances where Jesus Christ, the great leader of all times, would do certain things. He would, for example, have certain experiences, and he would literally say, look, I only want you 3 to come. What's he doing? He's taking them into an environment where the other 9, he don't want them to come. He wants to mentor this 3 at a different level. And he would allow them to see things the others didn't see. And then he would say to them, don't tell nobody what you saw. Why? I'm really testing you. There are people in my life who I would take into certain environments, others I won't, because I am looking at criteria. I'm testing their spirit, their personality, their motivation, their attitude, because if you're going to give power to someone, you want to make sure that they don't want power. Very important. So when you talk about choosing a successor, you got to first decide what you don't want. Now, I know number 1 is a little shocking to most of you, because we normally say, well, if someone loves your vision and they captured your vision and they know your vision, then they are the natural successor. Not so. Sometimes people love your vision because they want to take it from you. They don't want to inherit it. They actually want to commit a coup. So someone tell you they love your vision doesn't mean they qualify for succession. Because the reason for loving your vision could be because they ain't got none themselves.